Yo, what's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to the podcast, another episode of Caffeine and Green with your man, Connor Cardenas. And before we get into it today, man, I just want to give a huge shout out to the sponsors of Caffeine and Green, which is Thorn Street Brewery, coming straight out of North Park, and Seven Seas Roasting Company, coming straight out of South Park. That's right, we got all the parks covered, y'all. San Diego all day. Either way, one of the best things about having Seven Seas Roasting as one of the sponsors of the podcast is that they've afforded me a code that I'm going to pass along to y'all. So if you go over to sevenseasroasting.com, you go to that coffee tab and select 3 bags of coffee, you're going to get that for $30. Now that's a no-brainer because 2 bags of coffee is $16 a piece, depending on the coffee that you're getting. So depending on the coffee that like I said, you're either going to get 1 bag of coffee for free or you're practically getting like 2 bags of coffee for free because that is 3 bags of coffee for $30. So you're going to be able to select from our non-Kali, our Setapung, or our Espresso Blend, which are all amazing coffees. Our Setapung and our non-Kali are both from Southeast Asia, which is what we're known for. And the non-Kali coffee is a little bit of butter cookie, a little bit of almond, and a little bit of dried mango. So it's very sweet, very nice, light roasted coffee. We also have our Setapung, which is a medium roast from Laos, a little bit of strawberry, a little black currant, a little bit of chocolate. Very, very nice. And then, of course, our Espresso Blend, which is a crowd favorite. So if you head over there, you pick those 3 coffees or any of the other coffees that we have on the website. You go over to checkout. You're going to get that promo code line. You're going to put my code in. That's CANDG at checkout. And you're going to get 3 bags of coffee for $30. Now, again, that is a no-brainer because 1 bag of coffee could be $16. Another bag, that's $16. That's $32, yo. You're getting a bag of coffee for free. Again, no brainer. So head over to sevenseasroasting.com, input my code CANDG, that's C&G at checkout, and you're going to get that deal. My guest today, she is a very special guest. Not only is she from the Bay Area, but she is a business owner, and she's a specialty coffee business owner. I'm talking about my homegirl, Salpi Sleiman. She is the owner of Holsem Coffee on University and 30th, right underneath the North Park sign. If y'all have been in that area, you've seen her shop. It's a beautiful space. It's huge. They have great coffee. She's roasting her own coffee. And like I said, she's a business owner. She's out here hustling. She's getting it. And we got into that today. And without further ado, my homegirl, Salpi. This your time to shine, homie. Let's go. Caffeine and Green. It's your boy Connor. What's good? Good. Caffeine and Green. And we are live.
Yay.
Salpi Sleiman. Yes.
Got it.
Yes, I got it.
You
Yes.
won.
You are on Caffeine and Green, miss. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for inviting me.
Let's get a cheers. I always like to cheers when we started out. Boom.
Clink.
Hell yeah. Salpi.
Delicious.
I just like to get right into it.
Okay.
So I'm going to get right into
Let's
it.
do this.
You are the owner of Holsem Coffee
Yes.
here in San Diego, North Park specifically. Yes. That is why you were on the podcast. And I definitely wanted to I have some notes as well because you had said, I have some notes. Like,
Okay.
hell yeah, because not too many people have notes. I've had people who, very interestingly, will go on their phone. But, I've seen them get on their phone, and they're, Instagramming while they're talking to me. I'm like, that's a new development.
Okay.
I don't know if I should be like, hey, what are you doing? But at the
Yeah.
same time, they carried the conversation on, and then they, turned their phone back over. I was like,
Oh, I can't multitask like that.
yeah,
No.
interesting. That was an interesting one. But I'm so glad that you have notes. That's really cool. Nobody's ever just brought notes. I have things I want to talk to you about.
Well, you prepped me. I had to come with information just in case I get nervous.
Okay.
Because information jumps out of my head
Okay.
when I get nervous. So I put it down on paper.
Yes. Yeah. Or your phone.
On my phone.
On your phone. Yeah, but I mean that's one thing that I had on, and it's interesting story or funny, just kind of how the world works or the universe, whatever, is I wrote down as the last note here that I have is Manny. And he's the one who linked us up.
Yes.
As soon as I wrote his name down, I shit you not, he texted me.
Oh, I believe it.
A second later. And I was like,
I believe it. You sent him the vibes.
Yeah,
The
dude.
energy, he felt it. He felt you thinking about him, so he picked up the phone and called you.
He's like, did Salpi show up? And I was like, well, it's like she has like 15 minutes, but yeah, she's confirmed.
Yeah.
She's confirmed because like we had to cancel.
He was checking on me.
Yeah, and he was like, she didn't show up, and I was like, no, she canceled because she was sick. He's like, oh, I was about to say, like he's like, bro, don't worry about it, dude.
Yeah. I'm representing him, essentially, because he's our connection.
So shout out Manny.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure we definitely shouted him out. But actually, how did you
great.
meet Manny?
At the cafe, actually. He's one of my customers. He started coming in, and he's a really easygoing guy, great to talk to. When was that? I don't know, maybe about a year ago, maybe 2. He started coming in. He was thinking about starting his donut business.
Yep.
And he had befriended a bunch of my baristas, so they all knew him. He was like Norm walking in the cafe. You know, he walks in, everybody knows him. Manny. I'm like, who is this Manny person? You know, we start talking one day, and I realized he's an absolute sweetheart. I know why my baristas befriended him, and we started talking, and he asked me a few questions about starting a business, and kind of went from there. And so we had some consulting sessions, and now he's become a good friend.
Yes, dude, I freaking love Manny. Manny, dude, me and Manny have like handshakes.
Yeah.
Like
really?
On some real life shit.
I
like,
believe it.
Some real grown man shit. Like we're like, all right, bro, we got to do it like this. Like, okay, go swing up, boom, 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 lock up the fingers. Like, he's like,
that's awesome.
Some of these are too complicated. I'm like, bro, we got to make it super
You got to shoot some videos so he can memorize it.
Oh, I got some videos. I'll send him DMs from like Handshake Kings on Instagram and be like, bro, we got to do like this part and then like another. He knows what I'm talking about. Either way.
Wow, that's a thing. That's awesome.
Dude, it definitely is a thing. Shout out Manny. Shout out Don't Forget Coffee.
Yes.
I always like Don't Forget Donuts, but it's Don't Forget Coffee.
Is it Don't Forget or is it Donut Forget?
So, I'm
I guess
sorry,
I've
Manny.
never really asked him. I've seen it in writing, but
it's like Donut Forget Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's
Don't. It's like don't.
But it's spelled like don't.
Yeah, it's DOUGH and apostrophe T.
Yes, exactly.
Forget coffee.
You're right.
So it is don't.
Yeah,
don't
maybe
forget
it is
coffee.
don't.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like don't.
But you wouldn't know unless you saw it in writing.
Exactly.
You know?
People listen to this like, what's so hard about this?
He has the best logo, doesn't he?
Dude, it's a coffee bean taking off into space through a donut.
So cute. I want one of his t-shirts.
Dude,
he gave t-shirts to my employees. I'm jealous. I want one.
Wait.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Manny, I'm calling you out right now. Where the hell is my damn t-shirt? Wait, is this recent development that they just got some t-shirts?
Very recent. Yeah, I know they did a promotional video with him, so I think it was like a thank you gift, and they wore the t-shirt in the video, but they got to keep the t-shirt, and they wear it to work too. They wear it to work at Holsem
Okay,
Coffee.
I'm low-key a little offended right now because I'm on his Instagram like all the time promoting his damn donuts. I ain't got no t-shirt. Yo,
well,
Manny
better step up.
Manny's going to hear this and he's going to be like, damn, I'm going to bring the t-shirt. Size medium?
Maybe he ran out of t-shirts.
Size medium.
He's going to have to order a whole new set of t-shirts just to give you one.
That's
because you can't just buy one. You have to buy the whole size.
I want like a white and black one, like white t-shirt with the black logo, and then I want a black logo or
with
black.
The white. I've only seen the black with the white writing.
A black with the white. Yeah, okay, I need that one. But I also I'm making a request right now. When he hears this, be like a white t-shirt with the black logo. Birthday's coming up, son. March 4th. Holla at me.
Well, since he has to make new shirts, he might as well customize it and like put your name on it or something.
Yo. Now we're talking.
In your 7 C's, coffee fonts.
I mean, no, it should be in Old English.
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
can, we'll keep it cholo.
With like a banner. Yeah. I like that.
Okay, either way, we'll move on. But like, okay, so one thing.
Love you, Manny.
Yes, Manny, my man. We need to bring back the handshake again. But Holsem Coffee, you are located on University. And essentially 30th. It's a little bit off, but it's like you're on University. You're right underneath the North Park sign.
Exactly.
Beautiful space. I have been there before I met you, actually. Because one thing I like to do, especially being a coffee roaster, I definitely like to go to other roasters and try espresso. Because that's if you're going to really be good at your craft, you have to appreciate what other people are doing, or
it's true.
Without sounding so jockish, like see if you're better. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, you have to know what the competition's doing.
Exactly. That's the only way you're going to be better, because honestly, it could be a like really shitty, or you go in and you're like, yo, that was probably some of the best espresso I've ever had, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or even the space might be beautiful, or I don't know. There's a whole lot of things that a cafe has to offer, but your space is a space that when I walked in, I was like, holy shit. I'm gonna be real honest with you. The first thing I thought was like, yo, the overhead in here has to be fucking insane. Like the rent, I'm like, yo, we're on University, we're on damn near on 30th. Like this, as big as this space is. Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of. And then I saw like, oh, they offer a cafe. It's always pumping. I'm like, they ain't worried. And then at the same time, I had the espresso, and I took it to go, and I was thoroughly impressed. I was like, yo, this is a really good shot. Didn't know at the time that you guys roasted. Or I didn't know if you were roasting at the time, but it was like when I had just moved to North Park. So I was like,
when was that?
August of last year.
Oh, wow.
2019. Did you guys start roasting yet?
Yeah, we started roasting around June.
Oh, well then, yeah.
I am very flattered because I personally learned to roast in June. And so the coffee program now is me roasting, and because I'm so new at it, I'm still learning and growing. But at that time in August, I'm thankful that you enjoyed it, because it probably was subpar.
No.
I mean, I think we did a good job.
Yeah.
I think we did a good job pulling it. You know what I mean?
That could definitely be the case.
You know, we kind of fixed the roasting issues with dialing in, but the coffee's so much better now. It's like next level. It's really, really good, I think.
Really?
And because I've learned so much about coffee roasting, and the espresso now is exceptional compared to before. So I invite you back in to taste it again.
In that case, don't tempt me with a good time. I'm down.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, it was, what was really good about your espresso, because I think it's interesting, and I mean, this might sound super geeky, but when you take an espresso shot straight from like a demi-tasse glass, you're going to have that crema that's super thick. And depending on if you're swirling it or having a spoon, or you just go straight for it, that's a different experience as opposed to when like you transfer that espresso to a to-go cup. You get a little bit less crema, or you just get the straight shot. But I remember yours specifically where it was like very juicy. It didn't leave like a bitter aftertaste, but it was like an espresso aftertaste, but berry forward.
Oh, awesome.
And it was very delightful. And I was like, yo, okay, cool. So this isn't just like a Starbucks on the corner here. This is like some like bullshit second wave. This is a legit coffee shop that has good coffee. So I was pumped. I was pumped.
I appreciate that.
So when I heard, and you're very welcome, because hell yes, I know as a roaster that like when you hear that shit, it's like, you know,
especially from another roaster. I'm very, very, very flattered right now. Thank you.
Fuck yeah. Salpi killing it. But that was like, that also kind of got me like, when I started thinking about Caffeine and Green and like guests, a course to put forward, that's again, shout out to Manny. I don't know how it came up, but he was like, yo, I know her. And I was like, wait, her? It's a woman? And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, we need to link this up, like on the real, because I've said this multiple times on the podcast, is I'm always looking for women to be on the podcast, especially business owners and people who are out there killing it. It's important to me because I have so many men on here, but it's like, hey, let's get these women out here. Let's get like, and I don't say that in a negative way. It's like, let's get these women on here and like talk about your hustle, talk about why you wanted to start Holsem and what you got into. And we did talk about that a little bit when I met you a couple weeks ago.
I feel like we have a lot in common.
We do.
You know, our background, both coming from the Bay Area.
Dude.
Right?
Yes. Okay. That's definitely one thing I wanted to touch on. And so before we get into Holsem, talk to me about this, because I know we touched on it when we met, but you were like, oh, I'm from the Bay Area. I was like, oh, do tell, because I am from the Bay Area too. And
born and raised.
Both
of us.
Where? Where were you born?
I was born in San Francisco. Yep, UCSF.
Damn.
And I lived in many places in San Francisco. We started in the inner Richmond. We moved to Outer Sunset.
Yep.
And then around junior high, we moved to Daly City, moved down to the peninsula. So we went to Daly City, then San Mateo. And then as a young adult in college, I moved back to San Francisco, and I was there for pretty much my whole adult life until I moved to San Diego about 8 years ago.
Damn, you were a city kid.
Totally. I love San Francisco.
Yo.
Yeah.
Dude, what are your thoughts? And this might be like a shifting gears real quick, but like, especially growing up in the East Bay, not city life. it was always like when you met people who grew up in San Francisco, it's like, yo, those kids are mad different. Like, like that mad city, like that, just that city vibe. Cause you guys have
like in a good way.
Sometimes,
Okay.
sometimes there's definitely some
all right.
interesting kids that I've met that grew up in the city that like when you grow up in an apartment your whole life, and I'm not hating cause I grew up in apartments my whole life. I only lived, dude, in 33 years, I've only lived in one house. Everything else has been apartments.
Wow.
My whole life. So like, but and growing up in that city, and I mean, depending on if you're Outer Sunset or if you're in like Randolph Street over by SF State or just like weird ass areas, like you deal with some interesting.
For sure. I mean, there are so many different cultures and nationalities and, you know, people and personalities and ages. And it's so diverse. I love San Francisco for that reason.
I agree.
And I had so many different groups of friends growing up, you know, because we did actually move around a lot, and I changed schools often for whatever reason. And so I made a lot of new friends, and I have so many different nationalities of friends. It's so wonderful.
Damn.
You know, it's a big melting pot. But the great thing about San Francisco is that it's so liberal, you know, it's so kicked back. Everyone's kind of open-minded. You know, you don't feel like people are too opinionated or too judgy. Everybody's kind of accepting of everybody else, or at least back in the days, you know? So I went through all my phases of myself, you know, starting out one way, changing every year. Cause of course, when you're young, you're trying to find yourself. And I always felt accepted, you know, no matter where I went. You know, you go hang out in Haight Street, or you go downtown, or you go to the Mission. No matter where you go, people kind of welcome you in, you know, even if you're a little bit of a weirdo. It's kind of, you know, I don't know what is it. It's accepted, but it's like kind of praised, you know?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's kind of a cool
Accepted or
thing to be a
praised.
weirdo in San Francisco.
Of course. Of course.
You know?
Dude,
So
hell yeah.
I miss that. I really miss that.
On Haight Street. I'm glad you said hate. So I'm assuming you know Cha-Cha-Chas.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Yeah, that is my favorite
Been
restaurant.
going there since before I could drink. And that's what you do there, is drink.
Sangria.
The food's good, though.
But that's for me, the food. Before I could ever drink, I used to go there for like either the fried plantains.
Oh, that was my favorite.
The chicken pilar. Do you eat food? Do you eat meat? Okay, the chicken pilar.
I don't remember the chicken pilar.
Yo, it comes out in this little cast iron skillet. It has a chicken and just has this like honey Dijon sauce or something. I could be butchering it completely, but it has this sauce. And it's grilled chicken. They put like 2 or 3 little slices in there. Yo, and they give you like a whole plate of bread. And I would mop it. Like, yo, eat the meat, cool. But then the bread and all the sauce just
and then
mopped.
lick the plate.
Yep. I wouldn't even phase it. Like every time.
Wow.
It was so funny. My mom got ACL surgery or something. She had some knee surgery. Couldn't barely walk. She was like limping her ass. It was for her birthday, and I was in 8th grade, so I was like 14 at this point. My mom was like limping her ass in there. She walked out of there. Talk about like 2, 3 pitchers deep sangria. She's like, my knee feels fine. Next day, she's like, what did I do last night? We're like, Ma, you walked out of the bar.
Oh my God. The best. I could just picture it. I could see where it is in the street. I could picture you guys walking down the street. How
Dude,
funny.
we walked, you know, there's that parking lot across the street directly. Yeah, that's where we parked.
Yeah.
So she didn't use the crosswalk. She walked across the street. She's just like, oh, sweetie, I'm so happy. Like all this shit.
That's awesome.
Like her knee was killing her the next day. So bummed. But yeah, so that to me holds a super special place in my heart.
So many good times there. That was like one of the best spots back in the days, for sure.
There's a sandwich spot over there called Say Cheese. And you walk in and you're like,
where was that?
Cheese. And they're like, say cheese. I think they get annoyed by it, but it's over like on like Carl and like it's like Stanley and Parnassus and like Carl runs over there. It's like
like Cole Valley?
Yeah.
Cole Valley.
Well, it's
okay.
So because Hate's there, and then you go up and it becomes Cole Valley, but it's like up the hill, you know.
Okay.
Whatever. But it's
I
nice.
didn't spend a lot of time in Cole Valley, to be honest with you, so I'm not familiar with that.
It's
place.
kind of cool.
Like, although we used to go to a brunch spot that was really good called Zazie. Amazing, right?
Dude, and but
Place
tell
is
me
bomb.
why you have to like write your name in and then everybody just be standing on this outside just like this, like
because they were packed.
Dude, always.
It was so good.
Dude, in 9
Food
years,
was amazing.
I used to go there with my ex, and we were together for like 9 years, and in 9 years we only ate there once.
Really?
Once.
Because you had to wait so long the first
So
time?
long. Because we ended up going to the tequila spot. Or not tequila spot, but that Mexican restaurant on the corner. Like, here's Zazi's, and then you go down just a little bit, and there's a Mexican spot there now. It's probably changed a bunch of stuff, but it's like, that's where it was.
I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah.
Well, I used to work with a guy. He was a cook in the kitchen at another restaurant that I worked at, and he worked at this place as well. So he would hook it up.
Oh. So
I had the connection.
okay.
The restaurant industry connection in San Francisco. That was the best.
Dude, I can only imagine. Having the hotel connect, for me in SF, was the clutch one. Because, dude, have you ever been to, like, there was the Marriott. There's like
in San Francisco?
there's like 6 Marriotts in San Francisco. There's like
Yeah.
the J-Dub. Then there was, I think it was like the Grand or something like that. It was past Market.
Oh.
It was like on the opposite
by
side
the
of Market.
Ferry Building?
Yes.
Like, oh, that's the Grand Hyatt.
The Grand Hyatt.
Right on the corner with the spinning
Grand
restaurant.
Marriott. Yeah.
Oh, that's the Grand Hyatt.
It's the Hyatt?
I think so.
The Marriott. It was like a version of the Hyatt, but it was the Marriott of it.
Okay, maybe.
But it was by the pier, and it was looking over the pier. Like the port, I should say. The port of San Francisco. Yo, I've literally, like, I ended up getting like a corner room that just like glass windows.
Ooh.
So it was like overlooking, and I remember just waking up, and I was like, bro, I'm from here, and this shit is tight. Like, you know, like.
San Francisco is so pretty. I was just there a couple weeks ago, and God, it's just so reminiscent. It kind of makes me sad how much has changed, but I still have so much love for the city. And I just, anytime, like, my boyfriend was driving the car, and I just was like all eyes looking everywhere, checking out the construction and all the new stuff and all the old spots. It's like a kid in a candy store when I go to San Francisco. You know, so many fun memories, you know.
It's kind of like, with that being said, like, I agree completely, because sounds pretty ghetto, but we're going to the city to go get grills. Me and my like my best friend on the planet. We were going to the city, and like we're on the Golden Gate, or not the Golden, the Bay Bridge. We're on the Bay Bridge coming to the city from the East Bay. And I look over and I see that Salesforce building, and I was like, yo, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And I was like, you changed the skyline? You literally have changed the skyline, and it looks like a big dick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be vulgar, but like.
Yeah, last time I saw you, you had mentioned that. And so I specifically went to the city to check that out.
Dude.
And same thing, I was coming back from the East Bay, and I was checking it out, and you're right. It does look like a big dick.
It
and
looks like
ugly.
a big dick.
It's an ugly building.
Who decided to make it multiple colors?
Don't know.
Stupid.
I don't know. The shape is so not cool.
No, it's
And
disgusting.
you're right. The location of it's weird. It's like blocking. It's like right in front of the Bay Bridge, right? So if you're
Well, it's like if you're coming
looking-
towards it, you see it. Like, here's the what is it? The Coit Tower, the one that's like a pointy, the super pointy building.
the Transamerica building.
Transamerica. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
It's like the Transamerica building, and then it's like right to the left of that, and it's like,
Yeah.
what the hell
Ugly.
is that?
I don't know.
Like, why did you decide to make a
Money.
building like that?
It's money. It's
It
because the city
is.
made money on the building of that building.
Stupid. But I heard they're having
really
hella
bad.
problems with the base, like you were
Yeah.
talking about. Yeah. Either
Yeah,
way, we
they're
could go
having-
on
it's
for
leaning.
days on that.
So I was told by a structural engineer in San Francisco that if you walk in, you could feel that the floor is at an angle. And you kind of walk in and you get a weird feeling because the walls are wonky and the floor is not level. So it's not structurally sound, you know? So it's just, yeah. And I think they're trying to figure out a solution. And I think they did some work with the Trans Bay terminal.
Yeah.
So they did some work there, but they still have to find a solution to, make that building structurally sound. It's going to be a lot of money.
That's scary.
It's gonna be
Especially
very
with how many
expensive.
earthquakes happen over there.
Oof, yeah.
That is pretty scary.
Yeah.
We digress.
Yes.
Either way, we could
Anyway,
go. Honestly,
we
so
could
glad,
talk about
though.
San Francisco for hours.
I'm so glad though, because when you talk to somebody who's not from the Bay, they're just like, "How do you talk about the Bay all the time?" I'm like, oh, you just got to go up there. I
It
guess
just used to be so cool.
it used to be so sick back in the day. Like,
I know.
it really was.
It's
okay.
so different.
You
The
know,
parties. I miss the parties.
There's, yes, the turf talking. Like, we were talking about that the first time we met. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
fucking love that shit. I hella do. I was telling somebody the other day, I used to go to parties. I got like a liter bottle that I got from Target, and I used to pour an entire bottle of Bacardi Superior in there, and then pour like whatever Coke I could get left in there.
Yeah.
And then I would go to the party with a Black and Mild and a fucking in this jug, and I'd walk up, and people like, and I would hold it the whole time at the party, like, what's that in your hand? I'd be like, yo, it's my crunk juice. Like, yo, this is what it is. And I would just like pour it out, and I would just be sipping it the whole time. And I was just like, just getting hella dumb in the party, just like, son, just like shaking my hair. And like, you know how the fools back in the day used to dress too? I used to rock like double XL tall tees and shit.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, dude, I
remember.
I was Mac Dre'd so fucking hard.
Oh
it was
my gosh.
E40. Like,
Kano is full of stories.
Dude, I know.
So entertaining.
I'm sorry.
I love talking to you. Seriously.
Dude, because like, fuck, you got to get with it, yo. Like, fuck. Come on the
You've
real.
been through a lot.
I definitely have.
Yes,
I definitely
you
have.
have.
But this is about you. So shit. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're talking about the
Let's
Bay,
get
and
back.
just, you know how I get like the
Oh,
homies.
yeah.
The homies.
Me too.
But the one thing that I really definitely want to talk about, I mean, we might skip ahead, but this is the first thing I heard about, because I've had two people talk to me about it today specifically. When I told them that you were coming on the podcast tonight, they were like, Salpi owns Holsem. I was like, yeah. I was like, the owner of Holsem's coming on tonight. And they were like, she closed the Starbucks. I had two people talk to me about this. Swear to God.
Oh,
the owner's wife of this shop,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know she knew you, or like she's heard about you, and she's like, she closed the Starbucks. Can you ask her about that? So shout out Sasha if you're listening. And then Manny was like, yo, I heard she closed the Starbucks. Like, tell me about this. So like, what happened?
Well, so first of all, like, take it back to when I picked the location.
Okay.
You know, the reason I picked that location is because it was right in the heart of North Park. And I knew that being in front of that North Park sign was going to be iconic. You know, I just pictured Instagram stories and pictures. And so I knew that was going to be a good spot for us, right? And Starbucks was right there on the corner. It was basically 2 doors away. You know, there's one shop in between us. So
Where that bank is?
no, on the other side. So right next door to us is the Beauty Supply Warehouse, which is that huge, ugly red building.
Yes.
On the corner. And then the Starbucks was right across the street.
Oh,
So,
like on the other side of university.
on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was the corner spot connected to the observatory, the music venue.
I got you.
So Starbucks was there, and so, you know, we knew it was there, and we decided to pick the spot anyway because I felt like we were doing something totally different, and I felt very strongly that we would have different clientele.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to Starbucks a million times. I know what kind of people go there, and I was hoping to kind of cater to a whole different class of people, you know, people that were more into coffee, you know, coffee nerds, coffee fanatics and lovers. I think Starbucks is more for people that just want to drink coffee to get a high, maybe grab some food. That particular location had a lot of homeless people and weird people hanging out all the time. So I really didn't even give it a second thought. It was like I looked over and I saw it there and I was like, whatever. We're doing something totally different.
Fuck yeah.
So we went in and fast forward, I don't know, I think maybe 3 years in, I heard that their business was suffering. And I think it was the time where, I remember where they didn't allow somebody to use the bathroom or something like that. And then they sort of made an announcement as a company that anybody could use the bathroom without being a customer.
I remember that. Okay.
Yeah. So that was really big controversy for that company. And that was especially true of that location because there were so many homeless people that hung out there, you know, and it's because I guess they were allowed to use the bathroom and the baristas were giving them hot water and whatnot for their cup of noodles. And so because of that, they all hung out there. And it was really bad for that location. There's also another Starbucks, I don't know, I think it's like less than a mile away going towards the 805 on University.
Yeah.
So I think that location suffered and most of the clientele moved and started going to the other location because 1, I think there's a parking lot. 2, it's closer to the freeway. And 3, there weren't that many homeless people there.
Yeah.
So once that whole controversy went down with, you know, making the announcement to let anybody use the bathroom, it really got bad for them. And it got bad for us too, because so many homeless people were going there that they would spill over into our cafe, you know. And also at that time was that whole hepatitis B thing that was happening. And
Hep A.
Oh, Hep A.
Hep A. Yeah,
Sorry.
I remember that. This was a couple years ago.
This was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So the Hep A was happening downtown, and so they moved the shelter to the bottom of Pershing. Remember that?
Yeah.
So there were a lot of homeless people in North Park all of a sudden. You know, we had a fair amount before, but then there was like a really big influx. And so they started coming into the coffee shop, and we had a lot of issues with that. You know, we had to, make a decision to deal with it. And around that time is when I heard that Starbucks was doing really badly. And shortly thereafter, because I heard through the grapevine, I have people that I know in the observatory, and that space is owned by the observatory. So I knew that, things were kind of going downhill, and so they ended up closing. I wouldn't necessarily say that we closed the Starbucks, because we have different customers, but when they did close, we did get a lot of spillover from that. We got clientele that used to go there, and they started going to our space. But I think the fact that we were a busy cafe, despite the fact that Starbucks was across the street, says something. We were doing something special.
Yeah, of course.
So, their business did not affect ours at all.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, damn.
Yeah.
Dude, that's pretty tight. I mean, so with that being said, then the one thing that I also wanted to get into was like not just the origin. I mean, we got your origin story from like the Bay Area and all this stuff, but like the one thing that was super interesting, and it could also be very just an interesting story to like let other people know who might be aspiring to open their own cafes or open their own shops. You started on 30th and Upis. You had a coffee cart.
Yep.
We were talking about this the first time I met you, and that is what I really wanted to talk about. So was it always Holsem? Was that
the cafe?
Or like when you first
the
started,
coffee cart?
The
coffee cart business was called Roast Coach.
Roast Coach.
Yeah.
And that was your initial like. That's
that was
how
my
you started.
first coffee venture in San Diego.
And why did you want to get into specialty coffee?
Well, I had been working in hospitality in San Francisco for a very, very long time. Waitressing, cocktailing, barista, server, you name it. And I was inspired to open a place of my own eventually. And so I decided to move to San Diego. I had gone to college here, and I loved it, and I couldn't wait to come back. And so I moved myself back to San Diego with the intention of opening something. And my idea was to open like a breakfast lunch cafe, and I didn't have any money. I was kind of coming over here, figuring out the scene and seeing what my options were. And I was waitressing when I first moved here, and I really didn't have money, but I was looking into potentially getting a loan or getting investors. And what I realized is that I could start very small, and the idea of the coffee cart came because I was waitressing at the restaurant where the coffee cart location was. It used to be called Sea Rocket. It's right on the corner of 30th and Upis. It's now called Pete's Seafood. And I was waitressing there, and I was friends with the owners, and the place was closed during the day. They were only open for dinner. And so we were out to dinner one night, and they suggested that I use their front patio and start, actually back it up. I had an idea to do coffee because when I moved to San Diego, I was looking for third wave coffee. I was looking for specialty coffee because it was a really big thing in San Francisco. Yeah. And I couldn't find it. This was 8-9 years ago? This was like September, I think 9 years ago.
It seriously was only Starbucks at that point, because I had just moved here. I was like 23 when that happened. I know exactly what you're talking about because I couldn't find shit.
Nothing. I was living in North Park. There's Cafe Calabria, which has really good coffee, but more Italian style. And then, there was Starbucks. And I had heard about a place. I was Googling it. And apparently there was a place called District that used to do pour over. And I realized they had closed down. So at that moment, I was like, oh, this is an opportunity. Coming from San Francisco, where coffee is such a huge thing. I mean, all over the United States, all over the world. And I come to San Diego, and there's no third wave coffee. It was so weird. I was looking around like, what the hell? This is so strange. This is a major metropolitan city. Why is there no specialty coffee? I couldn't believe it. And so that was my inspiration to do it myself. And so then at dinner with my old bosses, they suggested that I open a coffee cart business in front of their business. And that was kind of a no-brainer for me. I was like, all right,
They suggested it?
They suggested it.
Dude, that's pretty buddy.
Yeah. My old boss. My two bosses, actually, Elena and Dennis. Dennis is a big skater, by the way.
Oh, hell
He's
yeah.
like
Shout out Dennis.
Dennis Stein, he's a big skater, dude. So yeah, they suggested it, and that's all it took. Honestly, it was like, yeah, that's a really good idea. And it was very inexpensive investment. I hired a friend to build the cart for me. And I actually had moved down with a really good girlfriend, and our plan was to open the business together. So we did do it together. We were both waitressing at that restaurant. We were all having dinner that night. They made the suggestion. We look at each other and we're like, yeah, we're going to do this. This is a great idea.
Sick.
Yeah. And so we hired our friends. We had some really amazing builder friends. And so they built this beautiful little cart for us. And we were open for business like 3 months later. And what I realized is that it's much easier to get a permit from the health department.
Oh, yeah.
For mobile food facilities rather than a coffee shop.
As long as you got them on wheels. Yeah, as long as you got it on wheels.
On wheels.
Different game.
Yeah.
Different game.
You just have to draw up the plans, but much less requirements, And so we were able to open 3 months later. And so we rolled this cart out. And I remember the day. It was so funny because we didn't know what time to open. We're like, 6:30, let's try it out, and it was still dark at that time. And we get there and we roll this cart out and no one was around because it was dark and nobody knew we were there and we hadn't promoted or anything, right? So it's like pitch black. And we're just sitting there looking at each other and we're like, shit, was this the right decision? I don't know. And then a couple of hours passes, the sun comes out, and we realized that a lot of people were driving down 30th Street, and it turns out that it was a very busy street because, anybody that lives in South Park, Golden Hill, North Park, they're all coming down 30th to go to the freeway to go to work.
All neighborhoods in San Diego.
Thoroughfare.
Yeah, all neighborhoods in San Diego who don't live in the area.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But they all funneled down 30th Street. And so we had a lot of exposure and people were pulling over just to see what we're doing. These two girls standing out here. I mean, I don't think it was obvious that it was a coffee cart because we didn't have any equipment on the cart. We were only doing pour over. So the way the cart was designed was we had the Hario funnels on display, right? So you could see them out there. So people were driving by like, what the hell are these girls doing? And so they would pull over.
The V60s?
The V60s.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's all we did was pour over. And cold brew, actually. And so they slowly but surely people were like pulling over, asking what we were doing. And we were making pour over for these people that had never tried pour over before because no one else was doing it in San Diego. Yeah. So we were educating a lot of people and we gained a following, because pour over is wonderful. It's smooth. It's, it's just a different type of coffee. It could be tea-like.
It's a refined batch brew.
It's a refined batch brew, but it could be what you make it. You can use less coffee and make it like tea. You could use more coffee. You can add cream and sugar. Our take was we had dark roast coffees and we had light roast single origins, and then we had our coffee creations. And those were drinks with natural ingredients in it. And so we created this really cool menu. Just like natural ingredients. Like we had one that was called the Dealer's Choice, and it had homemade vanilla syrup with cinnamon, coffee, and it was a dark roast coffee and cream. And then we had another one that was very popular. It was called the Turk. It had muddled fresh mint with brown sugar and a little cardamom with coffee and cream.
Oh, wow. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, how was I inspired by those drinks? I think because there were a few, like the bar scene in San Francisco's, the cocktail scene is really cool, and the food scene. And, there's just like a really heavy emphasis on like ingredients, really good ingredients. And so I brought that philosophy with me. And so the idea behind like all of these creations was like using natural ingredients and assembling drinks like a bartender would, a cocktail,
Butters.
So that's kind of how it started. And it was a small menu, but it was a dialed in menu. Every item on the menu did very well, and we got really busy, and it was amazing. And then we built a second cart and we built a third cart. And at one point we had 3 locations. We had the one on 30th and Upis. We had one in East Village, right in front of Southpaw, it used to be Southpaw. Now it's Social Tap, but was right in front of the ballpark. That was an amazing location.
Damn.
And then we had one in downtown in an office building. Somebody had approached us about opening a cart there, and we did. And so we had 3 locations at one point. It was doing really well, and I was getting tired. It was a really labor intensive business.
Yeah, I'd imagine. Like, especially you'd probably work at each location when they were opened up, and then
I was
you'd
running
have other
around.
people. Yeah,
I had employees. I was running around. But the thing about coffee cart is you have to have a commissary, so you can't leave anything on the cart. You have to like unload everything and take it to a commissary, and that's where the
like
hard work
storage
was.
Facility, essentially.
Storage facility, a food approved, a health department approved food facility where you could store like our milks and our creams and our mints. Okay. And I needed a mop sink to dump my waste, and I needed a health department approved 3-compartment sink to do my dishes.
Dude, as you're saying all this, I'm like, okay, where was your sink?
Yeah.
Where were these things? I'm like, those are things I'm thinking right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So for each location, we had to get creative, So the one on 30th and Upis, we had the restaurant behind us. So that was our commissary. So that was easy. The other 2 locations, the one in East Village, same restaurant behind us. That was easy. The one in downtown was difficult. The commissary was a little bit away. So, moving stuff from one place to another was difficult. Plus just, being on your feet all day and being outside exposed in the sun or the cold or the rain. That was hard.
Yeah, it drains you.
It was hard. So after 3 years, I decided that I was ready to move on. Actually, both of my business partner and I were ready to move on with our lives. She ended up moving away. And for me, I was ready to go inside. I wanted to be inside a coffee shop. So that's when I started thinking that I was ready to open a cafe, And what happened was I put the coffee cart business on the market. And while that was on the market, I was still running it. And I found new partners for my cafe. And I'll talk about my partners in a bit. But I found 2 partners, 2 friends to go into this cafe business with. I wasn't quite ready financially to do it on my own.
Yeah.
So I found some partners and we started planning Holsem Coffee while the coffee cart was in escrow because I had found a buyer and it was in escrow. So it was kind of a crazy time, running the cafes, selling it. I had to pull together all the financial docs for the new buyer and then at the same time planning the new cafe. It was intense. So finally sold
like
Rose Coach and the cafe we opened, when was that? March? 6 years ago? No, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, actually. And it's been amazing. Holsem started.
It was at that location on 30th and University over there.
Yeah, that was okay. Yes. We got together, we decided we're going to do Holsem. And the first thing we did was we went out and picked a location. I knew I wanted to be in North Park because that's where my first coffee cart was. And that's where I built my foundation for everything in San Diego. That's where all my clientele, all my friends, that's where I lived. Everything, my whole life was North Park. And I knew that this was the neighborhood I wanted to be in because it's just a little bit more urban than the rest of San Diego, and that's the clientele that I wanted. I wanted creatives, I wanted urbans, I wanted people that are like passionate about coffee. And so I knew I had to be there. I just couldn't really see any other area working as a flagship for this business, And at the time, North Park, it's still gentrifying. It's still changing. It's already there. But at the time, it was changing a lot. There was a lot going on. But it was an exciting time. New places, new restaurants, boutiques. The neighborhood was really cleaning up. And so I felt that vibe. And that's why I had to find something in North Park. So that's why we picked it. But it's been wonderful. It's been great. Such a great experience.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then you closed the Starbucks.
And then we closed the Starbucks. Yes. 2 years ago.
Dude, that's amazing. So then all that said, you essentially have come from a pour over background. You started as a barista essentially, but also being a business owner. what made you want to get into roasting?
Well, so Holsem Coffee, as a business, we've always been roasting. I, however, wasn't our roaster. So that's what's changed. So before we were renting time at a toll roasting facility basically, and we had a roaster who was roasting for us. He was like our hired roaster. And so we were roasting at an offsite facility. It was our coffee.
You were toll roasting, but it was
toll
you
roasting.
Bought the green, yeah.
Exactly. But I always wanted to learn to roast. I knew when I started the business that eventually I would get there, but we decided that wasn't going to be the priority in the beginning because we just wanted to like kind of get our name out there. And, I want to talk a little bit about our creations and our ingredients on the menu, yeah. But, I feel, we kind of decided that we wanted to focus more on the product and, the design of the cafe and the menu, before the actual roasting side, before the coffee. Even though we were heavily promoting the coffee in the beginning, it's a lot. So we wanted to focus on that first. And eventually I wanted to learn to roast. And, that was like always in the back of my mind, but didn't happen until, June of last year. I was ready,
2019?
Of 2019.
Yeah.
And the way it came about is, Holsem, we've been doing really well. We've been ramping up with business and business has been going really great. We're really busy. And I felt like we were ready to kind of take it on, because like now it's kind of running itself. It's like a machine, it's a well-oiled machine. We're good. I don't have to focus on that as much. Now my time is freed up. I can move on to something else.
Yeah.
And so I decided to learn to roast, and we wanted to bring the roasting in-house because I felt like we would have more control. We would be able to have more control over the quality of the coffee. I would be able to offer more types of coffees, different origins. I'd be able to rotate them out faster. I would never have the problem of running out of coffee because we always ran into the issue of I didn't order enough coffee. We had this time scheduled to roast this coffee this week. I had to guess how much we were going to sell, and we couldn't roast until the same day the following week. And so many times we were running low on coffee, and I was like freaking out. So now we have more control over that. We buy all the green beans. It's all in-house. I roast on a schedule. If we happen to run low, if we have a busy weekend, we run low, I could just roast on the fly, which is so nice.
100%.
And then just having that that roasting knowledge really helps with all aspects of the business. Actually we were talking about this earlier, on the barista side, it helps. And, just running the business in general from a marketing standpoint helps. And just, having that knowledge of, how to control coffee flavors and create, control coffee flavors, but also like cancel out acidity or, bring out more fruit or bring out more nuts or whatever flavors you want. So now I feel like I have more control over exactly how I want these coffee beans to taste, and it's so awesome. I'm like obsessed with roasting now. Seriously, I love it.
That's
amazing. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
so great.
How do you feel about is there a certain origin that you like right now that you're just feeling like super hard, or have you been exploring different origins that offer different things?
I've been exploring different origins. We started out focusing on our Holsem blend because that's our main coffee. We use it in all areas of the cafe: cold brew, espresso, batch brew, pour over. And that's it used to be a Brazil Guatemala. We just changed it to a Brazil Honduras blend.
Oh,
but
wow.
that Honduras
50-50.
It's 60 Honduras, 40
I mean,
Brazil.
well, sorry, let me rephrase. Two beans.
Oh, 2 beans in our
beans.
blend.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like
2 beans in the blend.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, because the Holsem blend is the dark roast. I mean, I wouldn't consider it like an Italian dark roast, but it's dark for our range. Okay. It's darker than the rest of our coffees.
What are you looking at, like post-crack development? Like time past first crack?
Well, right now we're doing on average like 17%, but I really want to bring it up to like even 20% for our blend.
20. Okay, so I don't really work in percents. I work in time.
Oh, okay. Then
So
we're
like,
probably around 2 minutes.
Oh,
after
okay.
first
So
crack.
that's like your standard city roast. Like you got like a full city, I should say. So.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually pretty. what I would consider like for an espresso, that's like a lighter espresso roast.
It is. Yeah. I mean, we call it a dark because it's dark for our range, but you probably would call it like a medium roast.
That's a solid medium.
Yeah.
Like a solid, anything when like, once you hit the 2 minutes, that's a medium.
Yeah.
2 to 3 is pretty much a medium. Anything past 3, to me, in my opinion, from what I've seen over my course of roasting, anything past 3 minutes, that's a dark roast.
Yeah.
If you're like into 4 minutes, 30 seconds PCD, like, that's like an Italian, maybe a Vienna, like on the real.
Oh, and we've had some mistake batches where we've done that.
For sure. But you know what's really nice about that? Have you ever been to Italy?
No.
Dude, please go there. Just go to Rome. You gotta go to Cafe Tazza del Oro. Yo, you go in there. It's like €1. You get like 2 espresso per favore. 2 espresso per favore. I learned real quick. Like, yo, if you're gonna order espresso, you gotta make sure you're doing it right. Or a cappuccino. Like, yo, cappuccino. It's not cappuccino here. It's in Italy. It's cappuccino. Like, all right, cool. And then they bring it out to you, whatever. But like, being Americans too, like we're not like, we do things in like 4. I don't know what your guys' in and outs are, but we do like 19 and a half in or 19.6 to like 35 out. In Italy, it was like 7 grams out.
Really?
You like shoot it. You like shoot the espresso, but it's very.
You don't sip it.
No.
What does it even taste like?
Yo, it's just an Italian roast. What you'd expect. It's chocolatey, had a little bit of roast, has some bite. If you go to like outer Italy, like inland, I don't know. Actually, please don't. You go to Chianti, in Chianti, in like the where the fucking wine is made. They don't have like fresh roasted coffee there. They have some shit that has a bite to it. But it's 7 shots or 7 grams. Boom, you just shoot it. Wow. Boom, shoot it. Boom, shoot it. And it's
so you're basically drinking it just to get your caffeine high. You're not drinking it to enjoy it.
No. You're drinking it to get your caffeine high. Most people go outside afterwards, smoke a cigarette, come back in, get one more espresso, and then they're good. That's
so interesting because I assumed that Italians had this cafe culture where they just kind of sit and drink cappuccinos and espressos all day. I would think that they would like babysit it, Dude, it actually costs you more to get the same drinks if you sit. Oh.
Yeah, at the spot. Yeah, so at the spot, if you sit, that cappuccino or the espresso will cost you $1 more. But if you're taking it to go, boom.
Wow.
It's $1 cheaper. Because the thing is like there's a full on like bar mentality there. Like you walk up, there's I apologize to my homie Marco. He's from Rome actually. It's Rascoli's. It's Rascoli's. That's what he said. Because I told him about it. He's like, no, he was correcting me. But there's this kind of like a chain, but they had like very, very nice chain of Rascoli's, which you go in, they have all these amazing, beautifully done pastries on this case. But you walk up and you have your car, like everywhere you go, you have to pay first. And then you stand there with like a receipt ticket, if you will. And then as soon as somebody like leaves the bar, you go in there and you like put your shit in, and then they like make your espresso and you tell them if you want like a fucking pastry or whatever, and then they'll charge you for the pastry. But it's so funny because me being who I was, I literally went up to the dude and I was like, "Due espresso per favore" for me and my ex, and the guy looked at me, and as soon as I said that, he was like, "Where are you from?" Like, and he said it in English, and I was like, "San Diego," and he was like, "Do you speak English or are you trying to butcher Italian? Like, are you like, do you speak Spanish?" I was like, "I can speak English and Spanish." He's like, "I can speak English, I can speak Spanish, I can speak Italian. What do you want?" But he's saying this to me in English. And I was like, "Bro, we can just fuck with English." Like, yo, it's the easiest for me. But it was like, I'm trying to do it in Italian. I don't want to be like a tourist, but.
Yeah, you should have appreciated your efforts.
Hey, motherfucker. But either way.
Was the espresso good?
Dude, it was. I mean,
okay.
I'm in specialty coffee. I'm a specialty coffee roaster. That's what I love to do. And we can geek out super hard. I mean, like the first time we met, you took me to show me the roaster. And it was just like, what about this? What about this? And it's like, that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
But my Bay Area mentality is just like, this is how I want to talk. I want to talk like I'm talking to my homies, like what's good. that's how I feel about the espresso when I was in Italy. Like one of my favorite coffees to this day is Bob's Donuts on fucking Polk. You know what I'm talking about? Like going into Russian Hill. It's like a 20.
Bob's Donuts. I'm trying to picture it.
I'm pretty sure it's.
I'm not familiar.
It's Bob's, but it's 24-hour donut shop. It's the only one in Russian Hill. If like, I used to work at this this specialty acai cafe like in the city. It was 1958 Polk Street. You walk over the hill in Russian Hill, like going towards the Tenderloin. It was right there, and it's this 24-hour spot.
Okay.
And the lady always was so nice, Chinese family. But the only donut shop I've ever been to in my life that has chocolate covered glazed with raspberry filled. And I would always like walk in down there.
That's amazing.
But I'd always get a cup of coffee, and they had like this Sumatra blend that was just super over roasted, and it was like some garbage. But I would put creamer and a little Splenda, and it was like, give me that donut and that coffee, and that's still to this day one of my favorite pastimes. Like I'll go to fucking Bob's every time I'm there.
Oh, I'll have to go next time I go. I'll be there February 25th.
Dude, go there. Go Bob's on Polk.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about. And you'll drink the coffee. Coffee ain't shit.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like, that's what I mean by this is like, I love specialty coffee, but I don't really give a shit if it's specialty coffee because I love the vibe. I knew the Chinese lady behind the counter.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name, but she'd always be like, hi. And I'd be like, hey, how you doing today? You know, like, oh, you good? Chocolate raspberry filled? You know, let me get that. Let me get that chocolate raspberry filled. And then it's like, let me get that coffee.
That's hilarious.
And that's what it was. And to me, I refer to this, and if you've ever listened to this and you like people who've met me, like I always say nostalgic coffee taste. Mm-hmm. That to me is the nostalgic coffee taste. It's not good, but it is coffee. And if you need it, it's there. Yeah. And that's what I always think about. You know,
define good. Like, we're into next level coffee, but I'm sure that coffee was good enough.
But that's what it is. It's like
where they have a following, and they have a sustainable business.
But that's the thing, though, is that's when people are like, "Oh, you don't drink Starbucks. Sorry, you're in specialty cups." Like, I don't give a shit, bro. Like, if I'm on the 5, and you know how the 5 is. There's only a Starbucks. I'll get an Americano. Like, yo, let me get a batch brew. Like, yo, I'll put some milk in there. Like,
I mean, if you're traveling, around the world and there's a Starbucks at the airport, that's where you're going.
It's popping. I don't care. And that's what I mean is like when I was in Italy, I was there for the experience. And if I had shitty coffee, fine. Like, I'm not a snob in that sense. Mm-hmm. I will critique it. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. But do I give a shit? No.
Good for you.
No, man.
See, I'm the kind of person where I will travel to different locations for different things. You know what I mean? So I'll go to San Francisco. I would go to Bob's Donuts for the donuts, but then I would go 4 blocks away to Contraband to go get real coffee.
Do you know where St. Francis is? Or not St. Francis.
St. Frank's.
St. Frank's. I'm sorry. Yeah. Same street, couple blocks down.
Exactly. So I wouldn't, it's like I go to the places that have the things that they're known for, but I'm not afraid. Like when you go to the Mission, I go to Craftsman and Wolves for pastry. Although they do have 4 barrel coffee there. I don't go there. I don't get my coffee from there. I'll walk down to Ritual. Okay. For the coffee.
Oh, damn, you're like one of these people.
Or I'll go to Tartine. Right. But Tartine actually has good coffee now.
Dude, Tartine is here in San Diego too.
Where? What?
Sorry. We can get into that in a second. Go ahead.
Gosh. I'm a huge fan of Tartine. I'm obsessed, actually. I love it. But that's what I'll do. I'll go anywhere for good coffee.
Okay. The one of the bakers who does Tartine has opened up with Ironsmith down here.
Crystal. Yeah, she owns Wayfarer.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Because my homie.
She's amazing.
He was on the show. Matt.
Oh, Matt.
Matt De La Rosa. Yeah, he was on the show, and he was like, great. "Yeah, I'm opening up that location with this baker from Tartine." I didn't
realize they did it together.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, cool. So that was like, hey, fucking A, that's tight. Yeah,
I actually reached out to them for wholesale pastry last week, and I found out they're not doing wholesale anymore. Mm-hmm.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I know it is because their product is so amazing.
Yeah, I mean, even in LA, they have a Tartine in LA right now. Or is it SF?
Oh, only? Wayfarer, you mean?
Oh,
Wayfarer? I don't know. I think they
You know
just have
what?
the one location.
I got this person's story. They had a story and they were like filming it, but it was in SF. I thought it was
Yeah.
LA. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
Tartine has expanded though. They have locations. I think they do have a location in LA, but Crystal used to work at Tartine, and then she moved to San Diego and opened Wayfarer. Actually, she used to own. She told me once in LA. Oh, it's called Proof Bakery. She used to own Proof in LA, which was an amazing bakery.
Okay.
And then from there, she moved to San Diego and opened Wayfarer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Dude, just
Very
moving
talented
up and down the
baker.
state.
I know.
Dude, everybody.
But San Diego is where it's at now. I feel like
100%.
anybody that wants to expand open a flagship, but also expand to a second location or whatever, San Diego is an amazing place right now.
Dude, I don't even like talking about San Diego anymore because of the fact that I love it so much. It's like, dude, fuck, don't come here. Just don't
Stay
come here.
away.
San Diego sucks. It's the worst place ever.
I know.
But I love it here.
I know.
But so you had talked about wanting to roast. We've talked about the origin story. We talked about Upus and 30th. Are you self-taught or did you have a mentor for roasting?
Totally self-taught.
Totally self-taught.
Oh, wait. No, for roasting?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Sorry. I lie. No, I took a roasting class with the roasting school in Barrio Logan at Cafe Fortuoso. They
really? They have Dietrich's there.
They have an SCAA approved school. It's like a barista and roasting school.
I read that shit on Daily Coffee News. They had an article about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I took a class there. Just one.
How long was it?
It was a full day. I think it was like 8 hours. And I knew nothing of roasting before that. I mean, I had seen the curves. I had an idea about it, but I had never roasted before. I didn't know how to use the machine. I didn't know anything. So I went in there, took the class. The instructor's name was Greg. And I learned how to roast in one day. It was crazy. So from there, I had already had the roaster installed by that point. So I took that knowledge and I went back to the roaster and just started practicing. I was still purchasing coffee through my toll roaster for like maybe 3 weeks after I learned.
3
after
weeks.
That
You
class,
say that like it's a long time.
No, it was a very short time.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I was feeling it too at that time. I was kind of freaking out because we had decided to transition, and then we made the decision to transition before I realized how difficult roasting is.
Yeah.
And then, we and then I took the class, and after that, I was like, oh shit, I don't know if we're gonna be ready in time. So me and my head roaster at the time, Mike, he's not with the company anymore, but we dove in. We were reading books. I was watching online tutorials. Reading.
Did you watch any Mill City roasting
Mill
school?
City, lots of Mill City, lots of Scott Rao.
Scott Rao, Joe Morocco.
Yeah,
Shout out
Joe Morocco.
Joe's gonna be on the show. I don't know when, but I've talked to him about it. He's gonna.
Will you let me know when he's here? I'm gonna come be a fan in the corner.
Oh.
I want to meet him.
I'm a fan every time I talk to Joe. So
he's amazing.
Yeah.
What's amazing about him is watching his videos. He's easy to understand.
Yeah. Even though he's like, we get into the weeds.
Yeah.
But like,
is that his saying?
Dude, yeah. But it's
really?
like, if it's so funny.
Yeah.
My ex used to listen to me when or not listen to me, but I would be watching the videos and she could hear it. She'd be like, are you seriously like watching? And she's like, how do you listen to these guys? And she's like, it's so dry. I was like, you have no idea what they're talking about. If you knew what they were talking about, you would understand like what he's talking about is so important, impactful.
Every word,
dude,
too, right?
It really
like
is.
You cannot skim over. Like I would watch a video and watch it like 4 or 5 times because there's so much information packed in those words that you have to truly understand it. You have to listen to it over and over.
You really do. I'll still watch it. I know about yellowing and drying and all these things. Yeah. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just getting a flavor that I'm not feeling, and I'll read a chapter about like the Book of Roast or something like that about like amino acids and browning and caramelization and these things, and I'm like, I'm not getting it. I'm gonna go find a roaster school video and then hear him talk about like, oh, I'm gonna get in the weeds and all this stuff. But then you talk to Joe in general, and he's just like. He's just a sick ass dude. Dude, when he came here, I was tripping balls. I walked out. I was
He's like
loading.
a celebrity in the coffee world.
I literally was loading up. Like like my roast for the day. And then all of a sudden I came out and Joe was just standing right here next to the bar. And I was like, holy shit. This is like Joe Morocco's just standing right there.
Insane.
And I was like, dude, can I get you a coffee? He's like, yeah, I'll take an espresso. I was like, I looked at the baristas. I'm like, don't fuck this up. Like, do not fuck this shot up. This is Joe Morocco. And I was like low key, like fanning out, like,
wow.
You know, like bumping my heart.
Did they just
hard.
pull one shot and hand it over?
No.
Or, okay, good. I was going to say.
No, I asked. Oh, hold on one second. I legit was asking. Shout out Leah. She'll never listen to this because she doesn't listen to podcasts. But I didn't know what they did to that point because I had my lead barista and then our manager Leah. So it's like this dude Josh and Leah. They're standing next to each other, and I'm like, they know that that's Joe Morocco, and I was just like looking at him like, just don't fuck this up, you know. And at the time we had Robusta in our espresso blend, so it was like really like finicky. Oh wow. Yeah, it was super gnarly, and I thought they had only pulled one shot. It wasn't until later after they had left, like he and I had some discussion about the espresso, and he said some things that were like so flattering to me, and I was, I played it super cool, and I was just, oh yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. But then I fucking, as soon as I was all right later, man. And like he left, and I like looked at Liav and I looked at Josh. And I just looked at them and I like walked outside and I did one of those things where like I waited for the door to close and I like looked around and was just like, that's the homie. I was so pumped. But I told Liam about it afterwards. And she was like, no, we pulled like 4 or 5 shots before they gave it to him. And they were like sampling. They were like not splitting the shot, but they were like putting a little bit aside and so they could taste it. And they were like, no, it's the one.
Well, I mean, if you think about dialing in espresso, it's like all day, every day, you know? So if somebody like that walked into my cafe, oh, you better believe I'll be standing back there with the barista tasting every single shot, you know? And if it takes 5, 6, 7 shots, you know, I'm not going to put out a bad shot. But yeah, it's really hard to get to dial in espresso.
Well, that, especially if it's for somebody who really knows what they should be tasting. Yeah. People who can taste the nuances or the subtleties of each espresso shot. I mean, shout out to Sprocast and like Siri Simmerin. She's the director of coffee at Lofty. And every time she comes on the show, she's had her own like one-on-one like this. She's come on with Sprocast a couple times. But every time she comes on, we end up getting these like fucking not rants, but like we can go for like 20, 30 minutes talking about roast profiles, flavor profiles, like just on and on about espresso. And I talked to Siri. I've known Siri for maybe 2 years now, going on 3 maybe. And I've never met another person I can legitimately talk about espresso for an elongated amount of time. That's awesome. And it's like, it's new every time. She's like, so what do you think about this? And it's like, well, fuck, dude. So I've been trying this and like, because it's so interesting. Even when you talk to, I forgot who was talking about this recently, but it was like, I read something in the Book of Roast, and it was either from Willem Boot or, again, Joe Morocco, that when you think of espresso, think about it as it's underneath like a magnifying glass. So if you have things that don't taste right or things that didn't come across positively in the coffee, they'll be magnified in the espresso. So if it was like extra roasty, it'll be extra roasted in the espresso. If it's too acidic or it's this or it's that, everything is amplified within that shot. And it's like, oh fuck. And then I read something from Scott Rao, and it was like, espresso is supposed to be pleasant. These bitter negative attributes are not supposed to be what espresso is. It's supposed to be pleasant.
It's true.
But it's really hard to find that.
It's really hard to find that. I've had more bad espresso out at different cafes than good. Yeah. You know, and now that I have this cafe and we spend so much time dialing in the espresso, it's really easy to fuck it up.
Super easy.
It's really hard to make it taste good.
Do you keep a log?
No.
No.
We have a little parameter thing. It's like it's laminated so you can wipe off, and we change the parameters as we're dialing in every day.
You know, one thing that I've been doing, and we just started doing, is keeping a log from the day. So I generally by accident, I discovered this, but I used to let my coffee degas for about 4 days on average. Crack it on the 4th day. So degas fully for 3, starts degassing by the 4th, and and then we crack it on the 4th. I've started to on accident again, like I said, we would degas the coffee for about 6 days, crack it on the 6th. And when we did that, I did again, since it was on accident, I was tasting it. I was like, yo, what the, this is fire right now. Like, yo, this is really good. And then it was like, oh, we degassed it for 6 days. And then even processing through that week, that espresso would be fire until about 11 or 12 days in.
Oh, yeah.
And now that we're keeping a log, we keep a very, very detailed log of when it starts to actually digress. Or well, not digress, but just start to descend and not be as sweet or not have as much body or do these things. So I would, maybe just as a thought, and because I can't claim like that was my idea, but it was definitely passed on to me. And since we've incorporated that, it has been very positive for the espresso. So maybe something.
For sure. I mean, we use our Holsem blend for espresso, and now we're pulling the Honduras. And we use coffee up to probably a week and a half, 2 weeks at most.
Yeah, 2 weeks at most for sure.
But it's still good. I mean, yeah, it's degassing and it's kind of mellowing out over time. But then we tighten up the grind, and we change the parameters to kind of bring out those fruit flavors. That's why we're constantly dialing in. It's like there's so many variables that change that make it. You could be pulling like amazing espresso all day, and then all of a sudden you get a horrible shot after shot, and you're like, what the hell happened? There's so many things, the could be moving from one coffee to another in the hopper. The scale in the water, the temperature in the room. There's so many variables,
The
and
temperature
that's what
in the
makes
room
it
is
so
a
difficult.
huge thing, especially being in San Diego with so much humidity in the air. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You guys are lucky because you have like an enclosed space in here. And then I know for sure the Lofty in downtown in Little Italy specifically, because that's such an open space.
Yeah.
We have these windows here that open up.
Oh, do you keep them open all day?
Oh, in summer? Oh, yeah, they have to be.
Oh, okay.
They have to be open all day. The door's wide open. But because of that, the humidity in here, it's just like, especially on the roast days.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Does it get really hot in here?
Yeah. Yeah. In the winter, butter all day. Like crack the door open, but the roaster's popping, and it still be cold in here. Like I was wearing this all day today, roasting. Like
it's freezing
up.
today.
Freezing.
Yeah.
But windows open maybe by like midday, but in the summer when it's just like popping humidity, you can't even.
Brutal.
It's so brutal.
Yeah,
and
you're
it's
probably dialing in all day.
All day. Probably like most 3 shots. Redialing.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's going to be a little bit.
Oh, it just makes me cringe the thought of like how much coffee's wasted dialing in.
I can't even tell
There's
you.
There's got to be a better way.
There was one day, I'm not even kidding you, they went through like 10 pounds.
Oh.
10 pounds of coffee. It was heavy.
It breaks my heart.
I mean, like, I'm maybe exaggerating a little bit, but I felt like it was like 10 pounds. Because I was like, yo, why did we go through an entire bucket today? We shouldn't have gone through an entire bucket. Yeah.
I feel like that's a grinder issue.
It definitely was a grinder issue.
There needs to be better technology on that.
There is some grinders. It's so funny you say that because like we're having some grinder issues right now. But it's like the grinder that we have currently has a thermometer on it, and that you can see it in real time. You can see the temperature going up, and you could see it. But then there's other grinders that we have that don't have it, and they heat up, and like it's like, is it the burrs? Is it the clumper? Is it this? Is it that? Wow. You don't know. So this is like coffee geek shit, but it's like it's so unique.
I'm listening. I'm all ears right now.
100%, a fucking 100%.
Yeah.
But man, fuck, I don't know.
You did ask earlier what my favorite coffee is that we're roasting right now.
Yes.
And I'm kind of obsessed with our Honduras.
Yeah.
It's like candy. It's so naturally sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of dove in and we got it recently. We switched our Holsem blend to have mostly Honduras in it. The Brazil kind of smooths it out, but Honduras as a single, so delicious. It's like, and we have it on espresso right now.
Single origin or in a blend?
Single origin.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we have it in the blend and as a single origin. But there's something about that coffee. We cupped it. We got it from Inter-American.
Oh, yeah.
We cupped it at
Shout
Inter-American
out.
with Scott. And
Is it that Honduras with the raisin? Is it like...
No, this one's more caramel. This one's more like naturally sweet. It's got some like citrus and berries and chocolate and caramel, but it's like milk chocolate.
Because I have...
It's the La Campa.
That... I don't know what that bag is.
It looks
but
similar.
that's a Honduras. And we just got
With
that bag.
The sun? Oh,
It's
I wonder if it is the same one.
Dude, that thing has raisin out the ass, but it's so good.
Oh.
See, this is also my palate. It might be just a little fucked up.
Yeah.
But like, regardless, sorry.
Well, I guess it could be raisin if we were roasting it differently, but we're roasting it a little bit on the light medium side. So we really wanted to bring out the fruit and the berries and the citrus. But there's so much like natural caramel in it. So like on espresso, it like literally leaves a coat like you ate a caramel apple. It's like caramel apple on your tongue.
Damn.
It's delicious.
That sounds good.
And what's so amazing about that coffee is, you know, when you get a new coffee, you have to do the practice roast and start from somewhere and go from there. But we really didn't make a lot of tweaks. Like we kind of went for it. We have our guidelines, and first roast out of the machine, it was delicious. So you know that's an amazing coffee to start with, right?
Yep.
So that's my favorite right now. We also have a Ethiopia Yargachev, which we're experimenting, roasting, pulling right after first crack.
Is it Misty Valley?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's got the Misty Valley right now. Yo,
good.
I know.
Well, we had the Sadamo for a while, but they
Yep.
ran out.
Yep.
So then we had to move to the Misty Valley, and I'm loving it.
That's what we got right now. They gave us a sample, the Misty Valley. I sample roasted it. It's good.
Uh-huh.
But I fucking with that Sadama real hard. That
Yeah.
natural. But we got like 7-8 bags of it. So we're running it on. It's in my espresso blend, and it's also our single origin right now. Pour over and espresso.
Oh, nice. The Sadamo.
Sadamo, yeah.
Oh, can I buy one of those bags?
Eric, you hear that?
They ran out. I was so sad. It
might
was
have been
so
us.
delicious. It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm loving the Misty Valley right now. And we sampled one batch last week where we pulled right after first crack. And I was thinking, nah, this is not going to be good. Not at all. Blew my mind. Amazing.
I bet.
Yeah, I love it. I'm loving it. So
The Honduras that we have right now that I'm about to sample roast it next week. When I sample roasted it from like the little sample they gave us, it was so amazing. And we cupped it at Inter-American, and I was just like, yo, this is fucking fire. I was like, it tastes like this, it tastes like this, it tastes like this. And Pablo, do you deal with Pablo or Dana? Both?
both.
Both, yeah.
Well, Scott is my salesperson.
Oh, okay, Scott. Okay, yeah. All
Scott
of them are
McBride.
amazing.
Yeah.
All of them are amazing.
Yeah.
But they're like doing cuppings with them. It's so fun, and just getting to have that experience, you know, I always feel so professional when I go in there, because I'm like, I got to turn on the coffee real quick, you know, because I'm here, like, depending on who I'm talking to, you might get like my Bay Area, or you might get like my very professional. But when I'm an American, it's very professional. Like, yo, I'm talking to Pablo right now, because Pablo knows exactly what the fuck he's talking about. I'm not gonna bullshit that. You know, Dana, she's definitely a little bit more lax, like, but when I'm talking to Pablo, I feel like
Pablo's business.
If you don't come correct, like Pablo will kind of like give you one of those eyes, you know. And this is no shade, Pablo, but it's just like, what? It is like, oh fuck, okay, I gotta know what to talk about right now.
They're all so great, though.
They
I just
really
love going there.
The
I
dog.
love them.
What's the dog's name?
I forget, but I love him so much. Oh my God. He's a huge golden retriever.
Yep.
Just the biggest teddy bear ever. Like, comes and snuggles right
Just
up
like
to you as soon as you walk in the
chin
door.
up,
Yeah.
Like, yo, let me get some.
That dog. Oh,
that dog
I forgot the dog's name, and I forget the owner's name too. But yeah, they're all
It's
amazing.
the
They're like
blonde lady.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like family.
Dude, fuck yeah.
I love them.
Dude, well, Salpi, I mean, that is pretty much like.
Did we go over everything?
Yeah, the only thing that I had left that I really wanted to touch on was like, you know, you've been roasting. We got like, we know how it started. We got everything. What is the next move?
Well, for now, we are just in a pursuit of perfection. Roasting the best coffee that we can roast, and having a robust coffee menu where we're offering more. You know, we want to offer everything on pour over, everything on Chemex. You know, we want to introduce potentially new brewing methods. But we're really looking to perfect the coffee this year. And eventually I would like to get into selling the coffee wholesale.
Yeah.
That's the next step for me.
Another location?
I'm not really looking towards a new location anytime soon. More so wholesale first.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's so hard to run this business. I can't even fathom running a second location.
Yeah.
At this point, but things are getting a little smoother. It's becoming, it's feeling like it's a little bit more self-running, and I can step away now. And I want to focus on wholesale because I feel like the overhead on that would be a lot less than opening a second location. Mm-hmm. However, opening a second location is something in the future for sure.
Yeah.
I just don't know when it's going to be. Wholesale is going to be coming like next few months. I'll be rolling that out.
All right.
Yeah.
Damn.
So that's the next step.
Dude, it's popping.
I know. I'm excited.
Dude, is there anything else that you want to touch on before we get out of here?
Not really. I think that I'm thrilled to be networking with other roasters, and it's such a pleasure to meet you, especially being from the Bay. I feel like
you know what it is
for sure. But I love being part of the San Diego coffee community, and I hope that it continues to grow. I keep hearing about new cool things happening, and people are expanding very quickly, opening more locations. I just don't know how they can do it.
Yeah.
But I wish everyone well. I think that, what's that saying? The tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, a rising tide lifts all ships.
Lifts all ships. I love that saying. It inspires me because it makes me feel like, because people ask me all the time, how do you feel about all these coffee shops going into North Park? And, at first I hear about a new place and I might have that little thing in me that panics for a second, but then I think about it and I'm like, you know what? Honestly, it brings a coffee community to the neighborhood. It gets people more excited about coffee. They jump around to different places, and we end up getting busier in the end. Yep. There's like such a strong coffee community and culture in North Park that it feels like such an exciting time. So I welcome all roasters and all coffee people and cafes. I think it's cool. It's like a scene. It's like a place. It's like a
100.
destination, you know? So yeah, it's cool to be a part of it. It's exciting.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Dude.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, Salpi, tell people where they can find you. Instagram, Twitter, wherever.
It's all at Holsem Coffee.
On
Instagram, at Holsem Coffee. Facebook, at Holsem Coffee. We don't do Twitter.
Okay. Perfect. I don't do Twitter either.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Twitter.
I stay away from the negativity. I'll stick to Insta. I'm good.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Well, Salpi, thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate you coming through. And please, I'm going to try. What time do you guys open tomorrow?
7 a.m.
You open at 7?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make sure me and Eric stop by and we'll grab a coffee real quick. I want to try this Honduras.
Are you sure you're going to come in that early? I'll probably be in around 9. I would love to see you guys.
We're definitely going to be on the road because we have to go to Orange County tomorrow to go see our other location.
All right.
But I'm going to come in. I'm going to be like, yo, I'm going to get this single origin espresso. Let me get it real quick. All right.
Let me prep my baristas in the morning.
All right. Dude, hell yeah. Thank you so much, Salpi.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Oh, I'm going to go with this hand. This and then this.
Yes. All right.
Peace. We got to get our handshake down.
Oh, dude, Manny. We got to teach her handshake. Peace. Yes. Thank you so much, Salpi. That was amazing. How she came to San Diego. She realized there was no specialty coffee. She fulfilled that need, and she succeeded. Yo, inspiration, y'all. Take notes. Thank you to all the sponsors of the podcast of Caffeine and Green, Thorn Street, Seven Seas Roasting. And thank you to all of you. Most importantly, thank you, all of you. If you have not hit that subscribe button, please do so now. Spread the word. Caffeine and Green is what it is. Tell all your homies. Tell all your friends. Let's keep it going, y'all. And let's keep Caffeine and Green on the road going. I'll see y'all next week on the road. Peace.